I left the apartment feeling like I was being watched. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it was the fact that my front door had been unlocked when I was sure I had locked it. Maybe it was the letter, the diary, the list of names, everything pointing to one particular truth. Daniel hadn't just disappeared, someone had made him disappear. I gripped my bag tightly, feeling the diary inside. If Daniel had trusted these people enough to write down their names, then they were my only hope of finding him. And I was starting with one name I recognized the most, Elijah. He was one of Daniel's closest friends, someone he had known since childhood. If anyone knew what Daniel was up to, it would be him. I called his number 3 times, no answer. So I did the next best thing. I went to his house. Elijah lived in a small apartment a few streets away. When I knocked on the door, it took a long time for him to answer. When he finally did, he looked scared. Amma, he whispered, glancing over his shoulder. What are you doing here? I frowned. Elijah, I need to talk to you. It's about Daniel. His face went pale. He hesitated. I can't. My heart pounded. You know something, don't you? Amma, please. Daniel is missing, Elijah. He left me a letter, a list of names. Your name is on it. He swallowed hard. You shouldn't have come here. I stared at him. Why? He opened his mouth, but before he could answer, bang, gunshot. Not close, not but close enough. Elijah grabbed my wrist and yanked me inside, slamming the door shut behind me. Did anyone follow you? He demanded. I shook my head, too stunned to speak. Elijah ran to the window, peeking through the blinds. His hands were shaking. Elijah, I whispered, what's going on? For a moment, he didn't answer. Then finally, he turned to me, his face grim. They know you are looking for him. I sat on Elijah's couch, my mind spinning. They know you are looking for him. Who were they? And how much danger was I really in? Elijah sat across from me, rubbing his face. He looked exhausted. I told him to stop, he muttered. I told Daniel that this was bigger than him, but he didn't listen. What was he doing? I asked. What was he trying to find? Elijah hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. This is what he gave me, he said, handing it to me. I don't know how much of it is true, but if Daniel disappeared, it means he got too close. I unfolded the paper and read the words written in Daniel's handwriting. People are going missing. The police know. The city knows, but no one is talking. Beneath it, another name was written, one I didn't recognize, Adamu Mensah. Who is this? I asked. Elijah shook his head. I don't know, but Daniel was trying to find him. I stared at the name, my heart pounding. If Daniel had been looking for this man, then that's where I needed to start, even if it meant risking everything. I left Elijah's apartment with my mind racing. Daniel had been looking for a man named Adamu Mensah, but Elijah didn't know who he was, and when I tried searching for him online, I found nothing. No social media, no news article, no records. It was like he didn't exist. But Daniel had written his name down for a reason, and I needed to find out why. I decided to start with the last place Daniel had been seen, his office. He worked at a marketing firm in the city, a tall glass building that felt too polished, too clean. I walked through the lobby, my heart pounding. I didn't know what I was looking for, a clue, a name, anything. At the front desk, I put on my best smile. Hi, I'm looking for Daniel Boateng. He hasn't been answering his phone. The receptionist frowned. I'm sorry, but Daniel no longer works here. My stomach twisted. Since when? She hesitated. About a month ago. That wasn't possible. I had seen Daniel 2 weeks ago, right before he disappeared. Are you sure? I pressed. Maybe you got the wrong date. She shook her head. No. He resigned last month. Resigned? That made no sense. Daniel loved his job. He would have told me if he was leaving, unless he hadn't left by choice. I walked out of the building, confused and frustrated. Then I noticed him, a security guard standing by the entrance, staring at me. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away. My instincts kicked in. He knew something. I walked over. Hey, I said casually. Do you remember Daniel Boateng? The guard glanced around nervously. I don't know. I pulled out my phone and showed him a picture of Daniel. Please, he's missing. I just need to know what happened. The guard hesitated, then leaned and whispered, meet me behind the building in 5 minutes. I waited behind the building, heart pounding. The guard finally appeared, looking around like he was being watched. I don't have much time, he said. What happened to Daniel? I asked him. He exhaled sharply. They took him. A chill ran down my spine. Who? The same people who took Adamu Mensah. My breath caught. So he does exist. The guard nodded. He used to work here. Then one day he vanished, just like Daniel. Why? I whispered. The guard hesitated, then looked at me straight in the eyes, because they found out the truth. That's the end of this episode, guys. Like and follow for the next episode.